Hello, everybody. Welcome to Move with the Military podcast. I am super, super excited. I get to sit here and introduce you guys to Annie Sovereign. She is one of our newest community partners. We're connecting her and bringing on a new base, actually. So, Annie, thank you for that and welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So, Annie, you are with the Sovereign Elite Group. I practiced that. Could you tell? uh,
It
and
was
you serve the Fort Worth military community,
correct.
correct?
Yes.
And that
So
is
it's just
NAS.
right outside of Fort Worth. It's kind of on the west side of Fort Worth. Dallas Fort Worth is really large. So, but yeah, it's kind of on the west side of Fort Worth.
Okay. Do you know about how big is that base? Is it fairly large?
Yeah, it's pretty big. It's massive, actually. So yeah, there's a lot happening right around there too. So there's a lot of growth in that area.
You know, I have some family ties to Fort Worth, and just that area in general. Plano, the outskirts of Dallas, Fort Worth. What are some of the other like bigger communities that are around there?
So, I mean, some of my favorite communities right there is a city called Benbrook. It's really family friendly. There's a lot of parks and a lot of things to do. And then Aledo is not far. It's a little more space. Azle is that way too. There's a lake right around the corner in Azle. And then there's other parts of DFW that are close to the base, but more in the city. So Keller is one of those, Roanoke, South Lake. There's a lot of great areas. A lot of them family friendly, but some of them are. And then you've got Fort Worth, the city itself. So if you wanted more of like, the city vibe and being closer to some of those restaurants and things like that, Fort Worth is a great place to be too.
Yeah, a lot to do. A lot to do. So, give us a little bit of background on you. What's your background with the military, and then what drove you into being a realtor, and just what drives you in general to when you serve your clients.
Sure. So my dad is actually a veteran. And so that's kind of where my heart is. I also have tons of family members that have been in the military. One of my best friends, her husband is in the military. They are, right now living in Germany. So they've done this PCS thing so many times. But I do have strong ties to the military. I know what they've gone through, just moving and having a family member serve and what that means. And so my heart is really just to help them. Obviously, thank them for their service. It's such a great thing that they're doing for our freedoms, but just love to support them in any way that I can. And then my background is actually in sales. Prior to getting my real estate license, I had a long-term career in sales, lots of negotiating. I would pull together programs and things like that for like Disney, Marvel, licensed
What?
products, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But during 2020, during COVID, we had a family shift. Basically, we had moved ourselves into one of these communities that I mentioned, and it was the best move for our family. But I needed to take a shift also. And so that's when I got into real estate, but I had been involved in real estate for much longer than that because my dad actually flipped houses
Oh, really?
for fun. And so I've scraped lots of popcorn off the ceilings. I have painted lots of rooms, but I think, just in terms of looking at a property and seeing potential where somebody might not see potential and seeing red flags where, not the typical person would see red flags. I have the ability to do that because I was really involved in some of those flips that he had done. But then just in the real estate side, having that negotiating part of my business be something that I now love to do. I pride myself on being a great negotiator, but just making sure that I'm communicating through the whole process. And truly, I want people to feel at home in Texas. I love it here, and I want people to love it here too. Obviously, working with military families, I know that this is not their permanent home usually, but I do want it to be as comfortable as possible for them here while they're here. So,
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I would imagine, with your background, with your dad, right, flipping houses and so forth for starters, that if someone needs good resources or someone local that can do some work for them, they're deployed or
absolutely,
the spouse needs some help. That it's really important to have that and have someone local trusted that either has vetted them or knows themselves how to do it or when to do it.
absolutely. And I work with a lot of people who also want to give back to the military community. So, just through the transaction, there's inspectors that will give discounts and things like that. Yeah, I obviously can tap into some of these resources that I have contractor wise to get a lot of these things fixed.
Mhm.
And then just through the process, having somebody who understands what VA loans require, and how to combat that in the negotiations. Also, when we're just looking at a home, if we're walking around a home, I can say, okay, well, the VA will approve this or they will not,
Right.
something else. And so, just having that knowledge to be able to articulate those things inside of the transaction so nothing is a surprise is very helpful. But in terms of people who support the community, also, I've got a title company that actually gives money to military families after they close. So it's
Oh,
one of those things.
really?
It's just the gifts keep on giving.
Good, because that's the one thing that's such a heartache. When a military family PCS is, I don't think a lot of people understand that they don't get this big paycheck to
Mhm.
help them with this process
Sure,
and move. And so, the more resources and give back that we can possibly assist them with, and not so much that, but the contract negotiations, like you said, and educating them because they've got a lot going on. They might be
sure,
PCSing across the country, so having someone like yourself that can clearly articulate the contract and have their best interest at heart,
absolutely.
um, for sure. So do you do a lot of sight unseen
Yes.
walkthroughs all hours of the night?
Yes. Yeah. So I've done quite a bit of that actually. And so it's really important that you're working with somebody that you trust who's actually going to go through that house and look at it like you would look at it. So when we're doing a video tour, I mean, I you want to point out these flaws because if you haven't seen the house, I don't want you walking into it and going, "Oh my gosh, I didn't see that scratch there." Like you probably should have pointed that out to me if you're doing a video tour, right? So
Right. Mm.
those are it's so important and it's really easy to do. It happens all the time, but it's one of those things that you really want to make sure that you're comfortable with the person behind the camera who's actually looking at that property. And obviously, if I want them to know, like, I would feel comfortable there.
Sure. I would imagine it's a little unnerving, at first, at least. You probably get
Sure.
used to it, but doing a virtual walkthrough, like you said, you don't want to like feel like you're nitpicking everything, but you
Sure.
have to, you're their eyes.
And your nose.
Yeah. That is super important. It's true that.
If
Oh, that would
something
be
is not
terrible.
right, I need to tell them.
Oh my goodness, absolutely. So how long have you been a realtor?
Well, about 6 years now, and I actually have my broker license, and I've got a small team here in Fort Worth as well. So, yeah, it's been a great time. We have a lot of fun, and I've got a lot of people to help support our efforts. So,
Yeah, absolutely. What's one thing about that area that you would want to share with individuals that are coming in?
well, I think first and foremost, like I want to understand what they're looking for in a community. So, not everyone is looking for the same thing. Like I said, you could go to Fort Worth and be right in the thick of the city life. If you've got a family, I think it's really important to understand what is available to you support wise for your families. You're moving to a city that you don't know,
Right.
with people that you don't know, and so making sure that you have the community to help support you, I think is really important. And there's to varying degrees of land. If you want to peek in your neighbor's window, there's that. And then there's also, wide open spaces here and not far from Fort Worth. So you can get more land the more west you go.
Hmm.
And then obviously your lots get a little smaller as you're going into the city. So that's one thing that I really love to do is if they can come and do a visit, we would go into a few different areas and I can show them, what is available in those areas. And then pick out specific neighborhoods that we think that they would like to be at. Also, I mean, is it important to you to have a grocery store 5 minutes away from you? Or
Right.
is a 15-minute grocery store route, which is, the further out you go, that's pretty normal. Is that important to you? Like, how often are you shopping, and is that going to be a time suck for you? So, just figuring out what their goals are, how they live and how they want to live, and then really honing in on an area that's going to make the most sense for them.
Hmm.
Because I am the expert in the area. They're not, typically not familiar.
Right.
And I think they're always surprised at how big DFW is.
It goes on forever.
Forever.
It's
And
so
then
whole
people
state.
say, oh, DFW, no, that's the middle.
Yeah.
There's Dallas on the other side and Fort Worth on the other side. It's huge.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. Oh my gosh. I bet. How hard is it keeping up with all the different suburbs and the I mean, you have to be on point as fast as
Sure.
it's growing out there, and how large
Yes.
just a municipality and square footage that it all covers to help people.
Absolutely. And I lived here my whole life. So
Yeah.
for me, I know all of these areas. I've lived in several of them. And I've also sold all over Dallas Fort Worth. So, I mean, I go pretty far. I mean, if you look at how many houses I've sold on a map, it's really wide ranging, but,
Yeah.
um, look, I, like I said, everyone is looking for something different. And so really honing in on what that is and trying to find a really good match for them. And they're not always going to be here forever.
Right.
So yeah, we've got to find something that's going to be good for the time that they will be here.
Well, and that was another thing I would imagine, just like any other market, right? There's certain pockets that have
Absolutely.
that resale, um, a high resale. So
Sure.
if it's going to be more of a short term, you want to make sure that that's taken into consideration, I would imagine as well. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, especially new construction. I mean, that's one thing that we have to talk about. If they're, because it's like a shiny penny. It looks great. Everything's brand new. You've got all these warranties, but yeah, depending on how long you're there, you have to think about reselling, and it's not always, in a couple years selling a new construction home, you may not get what you paid for it. So
Right.
these are all things that we've got to take into consideration.
Oh, yeah. The heartache of that.
It's
Buying.
awful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, watching somebody go upside down on something that they just purchased is terrible.
Yeah. So I'm gonna drop one on you that I didn't prep you for. What would you say? I'm really good at that. Is one of your favorite feel good? I'm sure you have plenty, right? But do you have
Sure.
a good feel good story that you'd like to share with us on a military family that you helped?
Sure. Well, so one comes to mind. I've got a couple, but one comes to mind. They used another realtor to sell their property, and it was sitting on the market and nothing was happening. And so they used their VA benefits to purchase this property, and they had, I think, a 1.9 interest rate, and the previous listing agent did not list that
As
in the
an
description
assumption.
as an assumption. And so they found me through another military family that had used me to sell their home and said, you need to just talk to her. And so they terminated their contract. They listed with me. And because of that assumption, I was able to list that property and we were able to get it under contract and sold before they left.
Nice.
So, but it was because of the assumption. And that's one of those other things that you have to talk about because I mean, not everyone knows that anyone can assume a VA loan. You don't
No.
have to be a VA. Yeah. And so, yes, the entitlement benefit is tied to it, but understanding what that process looks like is so incredibly important. And the other agent has said, "Oh, we don't need to do that." Well, we're in a market where that absolutely is very important. I mean,
Hmm.
if somebody's going up against a 3.5 interest rate versus, an assumable, and the thing is the buyer of that property did not even use the assumable loan, but you know what got him in the door? The assumable loan.
The option. The
Yeah,
option too.
see
Right.
that rate and they go, wait a minute. I want to see what this is all about. And so,
Yeah.
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 So that was just one of those things. I came out looking like a hero, but they were moving to Florida, and yeah, they were just so grateful that they had somebody who understood the process and was really on their side, trying to get them to their next location. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah,
Yeah, well, and using all the tools, right? Using all the
yes,
tools necessary because even if the buyer wasn't VA and their assumption was tied up, is it optimal? Maybe not, but what's better? Being stuck with
sure,
that property and and that payment because you're moving regardless or not
sure,
being able to move. So having options and going over all of those, and then the consumer, the homeowner and the buyer can make a decision on how they want to move forward, but presenting all
absolutely.
of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, just getting people in the door is the biggest thing, especially in a market right now. Like DFW, we are absolutely seeing it be a buyer's market. And I have
Mm.
negotiated some crazy stuff this year. I mean, just like I've got one under contract right now, which is we've got almost $30,000 between sellers concessions and a decrease in price because they had the house price too high. But these are things that you need to make sure that your realtor understands
Hmm.
how to negotiate the best deal for you and what market you're buying in. I mean, these are all advantageous for somebody moving to this area. That's a great thing. And hopefully, in the few years that you're here, the market will turn and become a seller's market when you leave. That would be optimal.
Right. And about
So,
cyclical, that'd be about
but
right.
yeah, it, understanding the process and where you're moving is a big
Okay.
piece.
So, what's one piece of encouragement or advice that you would want to give a family that's getting ready to start their PCS journey?
Well, I would say, I mean, for me personally, having a family, I would try to find a community that is going to help support you, and that has the same values as you do as a family. Things that are super important to you. If that's a church community, if that is like a small town feel, um, what is important to you and how you raise your children, how you raise your family, and figure out exactly where you want to be based on those values.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's scary sometimes to try and find.
Yeah,
Um for sure, but I think, a church group or if you're in athletics,
absolutely.
maybe find your people there.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's definitely you'll find your people if you
And
reach
in
out.
Texas, football is a big thing. So, if football's not your sport in high school, what is your sport? So we can make sure that those
Right.
kiddos are going to the right
Football got it
school.
covered. My
Yeah.
youngest keeps saying he's going to college in Texas because he wants to be a Longhorn. And I'm like,
Oh,
okay.
yes. Hook
Yeah.
'em. My husband's a big fan, so
Ah,
yeah.
well, there you go.
Yeah.
We'll see. Hopefully,
Mm-mm.
all of his
Well, I
dreams
didn't
come true.
lose anybody with the hook 'em, but
My stepdad went to Texas A&M actually,
okay. All
as
right.
well. So yeah, lots of connection. He didn't play football though.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well,
So
yeah, football is big. There's lots of other sports here, though. I mean, yeah, they've got golf teams coming up now. And another thing that I would say Azel does really well is they've got CTE programs, but it's like CTE on steroids. They have crane operation, drones. They
wow.
have more than any other school I've ever seen. So if that's important to your kiddos, that like maybe that's your driving force of why you want to be in that community. So
Absolutely. That is great to hear. So is that certified technical engineering, or what is?
so it basically is their I don't know what CTE stands for. I should.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's career technical education. I think that's right.
Oh yeah, that would make sense. Sure.
Yeah, and
Hmm.
so, but it's you. The CT. There's actually Azel also does a real estate program. So those kids who are in that real estate program, they actually get the real estate license, and it's
Yeah.
paid for by the school. They pay for crane operation. They pay for the CDL of the crane operator, so those kids can be making well over $100,000 when they graduate.
Yeah, that's
There's
awesome.
more. I mean, it is an elaborate program. So
Well, there's a lack of that in our country.
yeah,
And they need those services. And yeah, like
absolutely.
you said, they come straight out of college and make it
Hmm.
six figures
And
easy.
they can take that
And
to college with them. They can be college bound. You're not always non college bound in those programs.
right,
So
depends on what you want to do.
absolutely. But it's great to have the resources to be able to make that happen.
Lots of options down there, and that
Yeah.
is for sure. Well, Annie, so why don't you tell the listeners how they can get a hold of you if they want to come down, they're PCSing, or just, ask some questions, pick your brain, all the things.
Absolutely. So you can follow me on all social platforms. It's Annie Sells Texas. So that's my brand across Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, you name it, TikTok, wherever you're at, I'm there. And you can reach out to Annie at anniesellstexas.com and feel free to ask me any questions, any areas that you're specifically looking at. I'd be happy to help.
Wonderful. Well, I really truly have loved connecting with you and just learning more about the area, learning more about you. Super
Thank
excited
you.
to get Fort Worth up and running in the app. As some of people may know or may not know, we normally highlight 4 communities. Obviously, there's a lot more than 4 around
Yeah.
that area. So Annie's going to be your go-to to check all that out and get all the information too. So I appreciate your time. Thank you so
Yes, I've
much.
had a blast. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. I appreciate this. I look
You
forward to speaking to you soon.
all right, will do.
All right.
Thanks. See you later.
Thanks. Bye.